Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on May 3rd, 2021 at approximately 10 a.m. PST. And being as this is a live recording, meaning I do not go back and edit anything, I double check, make sure I got the date right, and the rest of it you get as it comes out. Okay, the date itself, if I screw that up, I'll just re-record the whole thing. Anyway, that said, we discussed responsibility, whose responsibility it is for your success. Okay, we discussed that yesterday. Today we're going to show you how to go about getting that. And bear in mind, these are the exact same tools that I use for myself. Okay, that have led me to get to the point where my financial goals are being met. I managed to get debt-free. Okay, I've got my house stocked with food. And the first rule of thumb, if you're going to do something, okay, and this is just across the board, if you desire to do something successfully, talk to somebody that has actually done that. Now, with this in mind, if your goal is to become a millionaire, okay, I'm probably the last person to talk to because I'm not a millionaire. I know how to get started, but give me a couple of years, we'll get to the point where I'll come back and say, hey, remember when? Okay, but if you're looking to become a millionaire, talk to somebody that's already done it successfully. Okay, and the reality is if you get to be the point of a millionaire and you lose it all, which unfortunately happens, what I've been told is once you've gotten there the first time, once you have arrived at the millionaire point, getting there the second time, rebuilding is a lot easier. You already know the pitfalls. Kind of like riding a bike. Once you know how to ride a bike, you just carry on doing it. Okay. So, today what we're looking at is how to go about it. Now, we've looked at a lot of things, and so today we're going to look at how to go about it. Tomorrow, I already know we're going to show you how that method applies to the rest of your life, not just your own immediate picture. The first thing that you've got to get in place is you've got to have a purpose. Why are you changing what you're changing? Now, if you're trying to change it, and I'll use that term quite deliberately, if you're trying to change it because somebody else has told you it's necessary, and this includes if I tell you, okay, the reality is if somebody else says this is necessary for whatever reason, unless you personally agree with that reason, you're not going to do it. Okay, now, yeah, there's some of you that go, I'll do it just in spite. And more power to you. But, because there's always variation. Like, there's always exceptions. But you've got, the important factor is to find a purpose. In my case, my purpose in changing everything in my life thus far has been quite literally because I'm not content with it anymore, and I'm no longer content waiting for it to change at somebody else's behest. I am simply looking at it going, okay, I know what's missing, I know what's got to be dealt with, and it's time to make it happen. So that is literally what I'm doing. Okay. Now, the important factor from your end is find something that catches your attention, something you're not content with. Make that the first thing to change. Now, in all honesty, the reality of it is it doesn't matter if it's the first thing that changes. You got to start somewhere. Okay, but the purpose has to come from here. It's got to be something that catches your attention. Now, I've heard a lot of different ways, and I asked my own mentor one day. I says, if your mind wants one thing and your heart is pulling for another, what do you do? How do you deal with it? You know, how do you bring the two into balance? And his immediate reaction was, that's easy. He says, all you do is follow your heart, go after what your heart desires, but use your head to get there. Now, understand, this requires following karmic law. Be true to yourself, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, and energy out, energy in. So, once you've got the purpose in place, and you go, okay, this is why I'm doing it. Okay, And if you look back, yesterday we talked about responsibility. The day before that, we were talking about energy flow. So once you've got a purpose, okay, and for pity's sakes, I'm just going to stop myself there for a second. Give us a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to our channel so you can get the rest of this, because we're going to walk you through. We've started at the ground level. We're going to walk you through how to take your life from where it currently is, however long it took to get here. Okay, however old you are, wherever you're from, doesn't matter. You're all in the same boat. You're where you are right now. And if you're listening to this video, the odds are you're trying to figure out how to take your life from where it is and get it to somewhere else. So we're going to walk you through it, and what's going to happen here is I'm going to be changing my life at the same time, which is a real big thank you to everybody that encouraged me to get started on this. So get the purpose in place. Why are you doing this? Okay. That would be first and foremost. And yes, I've got this fine little notepad here that I keep handy because, well, frankly, it's necessary. So that's what I'm doing with it. Is just making myself a note because it just dawned on me that the next couple of days, I mentioned a couple of days ago, I was going to do my best to get a little bit more organized. Right, so that's exactly what I'm aiming at. And because this is a live recording, this is what I'm referring to, but I'll show you how to do it because I'm doing it as we speak. That's that fine little notepad. Once you know why you're doing it, now it's time to get a plan together. And that's where this comes in. Take a look at whatever it is you're working at getting rid of, at altering. And start eliminating the things that are hindering you from that. For instance, in my office, in this little area here, it's not perfectly set up yet. So I have to make some adjustments to it. Okay, I've got to clear some stuff out of the way to make it work properly. So that will be part of the way of getting my world running properly, including the way that I handle marketing and everything else with my business. Because understand, this is my work area for where I work with video, where I work with my writing, where I work with my finances. It's all right here. Okay, and that's just the way that's going to go. Okay, I had to rearrange it when I did that. It's funny, my left arm used to not work very well. I put my coffee cup over on the left side, and because of the amount of coffee that I do drink, I end up, that has helped me get my coordination with my left hand up. My next step on that end will come in time as soon as I get a few things organized, and that will be getting my left hand to write properly again. But when we're talking about a plan, we're talking about you get a look at the big picture of what it is. Okay, in my world, the big picture, a lot of it I can see behind me. Okay, just like you can see it over my shoulder, I can see it as well. I'm looking at the video. Okay, now of course, if I turn around and if I move the camera up to here, well, what's going to end up happening, that's another monitor. But the camera view will still be behind me, which won't do any bit of good for anybody. However, that said, get a plan in place. Mark off the little things that need to be done. It doesn't matter how little they are. But I recommend you not make them a job that is larger than 15 minutes to half an hour apiece. Okay, and the reason for that is if you take a job that's longer than half an hour, number one, if you get pulled away from it, you're going to feel like you didn't get anything done. And now you got to find another half hour. Okay, I explain this in great detail in the one booklet I wrote, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. Okay, and if you look at the bottom of these videos, you'll find the list of different books that I have written that can, at this point, only be ordered through me. Okay, but all the pricing, all the listing is down below. Okay, because I take the information I've got and I try and get it onto, well, I do get it onto paper so that it can be passed out, so it can be, which is so much better than somebody drinking till they pass out, but that's just a side thought. I get it on paper so people can get a hold of it and go back over it themselves as frequently as required. Now, with this in mind, you get the plan together so that you know what you're doing one step at a time. And by doing that, it gets things moving in the right direction. Okay. Then one step at a time. Now that's the planning aspect. You simply look at what's holding you back. Like, for instance, if I'm not happy with this shirt, well, the obvious issue is I gotta go get another one. And in all fairness, I really should update my wardrobe. I told somebody one day, they commented about it, and I looked at them and I went, well, it's not like I'm a fashion statement. And the girl behind me in line was really quick, and she goes, you are so, you're just not a good one. Which I couldn't exactly argue with her. So, you get the plan together and start working on it. And honestly, work on it every single day. I've gone over it multiple times how effective this list is. You put a list together that you start with 3 items. And the way to pick those is look at where you're sitting right now. Okay, and get 3 things on the list that you can think of right off the top of your head that are holding you back from whatever job, from whatever goal it is that you're aiming for. Basically, it boils down to, if you're not content with something, write it down and start eliminating it. Okay, if your office desk is a mess, write down that it's got to be cleared. And then when we get done this video, immediately start working on that. Okay, you put 3 things down. When you finish one, check it off and put a 3rd one on the list. In this way, you've got a rotating base. The list isn't too long, and you get things accomplished. Okay, which is ideally what you're aiming for. Because when you think about it, if you eliminate everything negative that you're not content with in your life, okay, and you adjust things so that all you're left with is what you're content with, well, frankly, your life is going to be a whole lot better, a lot less stress. Okay, you'll have the things you're aiming at. And that, in and of itself, will stop you from arguing with other people. It will stop you from fighting with other people. It will help you prepare for a future that you can be happy with. Now, the reality is you cannot do a thing about the past. Okay, the past is there, and I still haven't got that on paper. I know that. But when it comes to getting things to happen, the past you can't alter. The future isn't written. Okay, and that's the issue of fate or destiny versus choice. Okay, and that's one of those funny little videos, funny little points that I have to deal with. In case you hadn't noticed, what I'm actually doing on this pad beside me is marking down the different topics that I'm going to be covering in the next couple of days. Okay, by doing that, what's happening is I'm getting more organized so that I feel better about what I'm doing. It's also helping get my head on straight so I can attain the goals I'm aiming at. Now, like I said, this whole thing started out with the idea of getting some of the information out, and it was simply a case of, okay, I'm not happy with my life, so what can I do to alter it? So I spent, I don't know, a month and a half really going over that side of it. And where we are now is we're literally going through it one step at a time and go, okay, how do we do this in an organized fashion so that you can get it straight? Absolutely, that list of contact points below the video. If you've got a question or an area of personal concern, whether it's business or personal, doesn't matter to me. Okay, I've been dealing with people with their complications since I was 10. Okay, I'll be 58 in a week and a half here. Okay, so never mind the data research and what have you the government and other agencies have done. The information I'm sitting on is based on my own personal interaction with well over 80,000 clients. Okay, and therefore, if you've got questions from anything, ask me a question. Ask me. I'll be more than happy to get back to you on it. Usually, like, I try and get the answers out within the first 24 or 48 hours if it's an email. Okay, and I'll either get directly back to you, or I'll do a video up on it to put in along with the rest of them. Okay, I've got a couple that I've got to do today, and I know that. I've got a lot to do at this point. But this is where the issue of getting the plan put in place and doing it one step at a time, work on it daily. Okay, if you are persistent, if you work on it daily, what will happen is you'll find things go away. Okay, you'll get rid of them. I mean, it's kind of like, I remember hearing a story about an old farmer, and he tells his little munchkin, right? His kid was like 6 or 7 years old, and he tells his kid, that cow, that little calf that was just born, you go out and you pick it up once a day. Just pick it up once a day, right? So the kid goes out and he starts picking the cow up every day. Once a day, he picks it up first thing in the morning, just hangs onto it for a moment and sets it down. And as the months go by, this, the cow, obviously, this calf is getting bigger. And this kid goes out and every day he picks it up. And he's constantly still able to pick it up. Well, this one day, and this one point comes along, and he doesn't get out there for a couple of days. Well, in all fairness, he doesn't get out there for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And he goes out and he goes, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this. So he goes out and grabs hold of the calf and goes to lift it, and he can't lift it. Okay, it's gotten too big and he hasn't adjusted to accommodate. This is where the persistence comes in. If you do this on a daily basis, you'll get into the routine of doing it. I tell you, if I miss doing my video first thing in the morning, it feels off to me. Which is why I've ended up doing some of the videos I've done, I've ended up doing in the middle of shift and just hoping I could get through them. Or right at the end of the night, not a good feeling. I'm an absolute wreck almost until I get the video done. Which is why I got this one done now and why I'm doing this one right now. But you've got to have the persistence to stay with it on a daily basis. Eliminate a little bit of the stuff out of the way every day, and you will get rid of it all. It's like if you're moving a mountain of gravel. One shovelful at a time will get it moved. Okay. It takes time, but it does happen. Okay. Take a bucket of coins if you've got it, or a bucket of bucket of anything. I mean, you can use ice cubes if you want. Take a whole pile of them and just pour them on the table in a pile. I mean, myself, I do it with dice, but then I also am a role player. Okay, as in I play Dungeons and Dragons and the like. But if you take a pile of dice and you pour them all into the pile, picking them up one at a time, you'll get them all back in the bucket. It takes time, it takes persistence, and it takes one other thing. And that other thing is you've got to have the patience to realize whatever state your life is in, it did not take only one day to get there. Yes, there are exceptions. Some of you end up in a situation where your life gets turned completely upside down with no warning. Okay. Like no viable warning. I mean, you may have had warnings, and looking back, 2020 hindsight, you might have seen it. But you don't have the warning at this point. Okay, and this is where the patience comes in. It takes time, it takes persistence, it takes patience to realize you're making headway. Are you getting what you're aiming at? Are you accomplishing the goals? Are they getting accomplished? Now, there's all sorts of ways of making things happen. Okay. But the biggest one, where it comes to the finance, the affirmations, the reminders work like an absolute charm. Now, I had goals for last month. Now, I made a bit of a mess of some of them. But the two big goals I was really aiming at, which was breaking the barrier of the financial income that I desired to have. I broke both the goal for my overall household income and my business income. And quite frankly, as the saying goes, all that I do, thou shalt do and more. In other words, if I can do it with the mess that I came from, there is absolutely no question you can do it. Okay, the only thing that I've never this lifetime had to deal with is I've never ended up living on the street. Been real close to it, been right out of money a number of times, but I've always managed to keep a roof over my head. Okay, now that doesn't make me better than anybody else. That's just simply the way that things have worked out for me. It's taken a lot of work, and now what we're doing with these videos is going, here's how to move forward. Here is a step-by-step method and why it works. Okay, so do check out the prior videos. Okay, that will help, in my opinion, that will help immensely in getting things organized. Okay, on your part. I know it worked like a charm for me. Okay, so, I mean, when you think about it, take a look at the past videos that I've got out. Okay, I've got some more coming out. I've even got a couple more that I've got to get done today. I'm hoping I've got the time for it. Okay, because there's been a couple of topics that I've been meaning to get to that I do want to get to, but I've got an errand that I've got to run shortly, so that ain't going to happen for a little bit, the other videos. But I do intend on getting back to them before I get on shift today, just so I can get my own life in order. Okay, and the reality is, the more organized you get, the easier it is to deal with things. Okay. And quite honestly, and it's like I've told you, the reality behind life is, no matter who you talk to, no matter where you come from, you're the only one on the planet that can make the changes work for you. Okay, yes, you can get everything handed to you. That does happen. I think somebody told me they're called a sugar daddy or a sugar mommy. But you gotta remember, that doesn't mean you're becoming successful. That means you're acquiring things, yes. But you haven't learned that important little task, or more to the point, you haven't implemented that important little task of being able to look in the mirror and go, I did that myself. Okay, have I made mistakes along the way? You bet, and I'm certainly likely to make more. Okay, but making a mistake is not a character flaw. It's just part of life. Okay, and as long as you're not deliberately hurting other people, you're not deliberately creating problems, then frankly things balance out quite nicely. Now, one of the most challenging things to get through and to balance out in your own head may be this. I know it was pretty much the biggest challenge that I had. I took a sign, okay, and you can see just, if you look at the edge of the video, I think, you can just see over against the wall beside the counter behind me. You can see the letter T. Well, that's the first one. That's the wood burnt sign that I was talking about. Actually, that's not T. Yes, it is. The end of the sign. That's why. Yep, it is. Don't mind me. I have trouble turning things around in my head. That's the end of a sign that says, I am worth it. Those are, in my opinion, the four most powerful words available where it comes to self-motivation and self-esteem. Okay, and let's understand that worth does not necessarily mean finances. Worth is simply a value of the individual. And in my opinion, from my experience, there is not a soul on the planet that is worth more than another. Okay, and I'm not just referring to the people. Okay, I'm referring to the people, the animals, the plants, the minerals, the different elements, all of it. They're all of equal value. And all of them combined create this ecosystem on our first world. Now, there's a lot of debate over that, and we'll get into that some other day. Lord knows when. That one will probably get debated when we look at it, when we do the next video up, that the sub-run on it is Races of the Worlds. Okay. I've been way behind in that. I think it's been about a month since I did that series. So I do have to get another one done. Especially when you think that I will be live on Spaced Out Radio This coming Friday, what is it now? Let's just check the calendar. This coming Friday, which will be Friday the 7th of May of 2021, from 9 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's on spacedoutradio.com on the internet. There's a lot of places you can find it. Join me there. We'll discuss all sorts of neat little things where it comes to alien races, alien technologies. We answer questions that the audience puts out. Much like if you've got questions that you would like to talk to me about any other topic, contact me at any one of the contact points below. I will do my best to get back to you as quickly as I can. That came out well, didn't it? Okay. Now, the important factor of this whole thing of this whole topic today is real simple. In order to attain success, okay, you've got to have a purpose. You've got to have a plan. You've got to be persistent. And you've got to have patience. If you keep all of those, or more to the point, when you keep all of those in line, you will find that your life takes a major turn for the better. Okay, now I've got a couple of other lists here, but, a couple of other topics I'll be covering over the next couple of days, which is helping me stay organized, and hopefully you can take a page out of this and get organized yourself. But since we got all kinds of other things that have to be done, and I do keep these to the half-hour mark for a reason, I'm going to leave you with it for now. I will be back tomorrow, and until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.